Good morning. Welcome to Aspire. We've been working very hard on these Beatitudes, and we come to the one that in this particular lesson is the most important out of all the Beatitudes. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I'm very excited about offering this to you because it is the way we see God through our perception of ourselves. Jesus' teaching on this is precise and magnificent, and it will help those of you who want to take a deeper path into life to take that path. In the second segment of Aspire, we're going to have some question and answer. I'm going to have the privilege of talking to my congregation and allowing them to question me so I can, answer this idea of what it means to be pure in heart more deeply, more profoundly in you. I'm very privileged to share this half hour with you. Won't you stay tuned for a half hour of insight, of inspiration, and some love. Thank you for being with us. Welcome to Aspire. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here this morning, and thank you for allowing us the privilege of sharing with you, both our studio audience and our audience at home. You know, the quest of religion has always been right, but somehow we got lost in the process. We forgot what it was that we are after. Religion in the beginning had a quest. And as we started that quest, everything was just fine. But somehow along the pathway, we got lost and we forgot what the original quest or the question was. It happened not only to religion, sometimes it's happened to science, sometimes it's happened to philosophy, and I think a lot of times in our own life, it's happened to us. We forget why we're here. We start out with this grand quest inside of ourselves. We're going to do something with our life. We're going to do something that counts, something that is meaningful, something that's rewarding. I think that's great. But then somewhere along the path, we forget what it is that we're supposed to be doing. We forgot the question, and we even forget what the quest is all about. We are here in life not just to have a good time. We are here in life to have a wonderful time within ourselves. I think that people do one of two things in life that destroy their living. They either take life too seriously or they become extremely apathetic about their lives. And if we take our life too seriously, we miss it, we misconstrue it. And if we take our life in a form of apathy where we've given up on ourselves, again, we miss it. We miss the beauty and the wonder of life. Basically, there is a very special reason why we are all here. We are not here to live out our negative karma like some people like to think of. And we are not here as a test from God like some religionists want us to think. We are here for very significant and loving reasons. We are here in our own way to find ourselves and to find God. And when we find ourselves, we found God. And when we find God, we found ourselves. You know, Jesus tried to teach us this. In fact, all great spiritual masters have tried to teach us this basic principle. And the principle that Jesus did, he said it so bluntly, I don't know how we've missed it. But somehow, again, religion, starting off on the right foot saying, I want to know the answer to this question, what is the origins of life, have forgotten that in their quest. Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven lives within us. He put it so beautifully. Behold, it will not be found low here or low there, or low here or low there, but behold, the kingdom of God is within you. How simple. But we forgot. We forgot what it was all about. And because we forgot it, we've missed our whole life. You can have a wonderful time with your life. You can go out and party and have a wonderful time. And there's a place for that in our lives. But if we miss the point of our living because we're too busy forgetting what it is that we're here for, the sad part about it is our life doesn't work out. We feel a sense of, an emptiness within us, a longing. The greatest beatitude that Jesus ever gave is the one that we're going to talk about this morning. It's a dramatic one. It's really one that very few people ever achieve. It is the reason for our life. It is the original quest. It is the original question. As I give it to you, I'm sure that as you listen to it, maybe you'll be thinking, I don't understand what he meant by it. Explain it a little bit. And that's the beauty of this. I have the privilege as an individual to explain this to you, to offer you some insight. I again want to say this to you. I am not the last word on this subject. There are many ways of approaching it, but I'd like to give it to you from the purest part of me to the purest part of you. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Please notice, he didn't say, blessed are the intellectual, blessed are the knowledgeable, blessed are the ministers, the religionists, the know-it-alls. He said, blessed are those who are pure in heart. What does it mean to be pure in heart? How does one become pure in heart? This is the key. Our whole life is based on this attitude of developing a pure in heart attitude. When Jesus talked about the idea of pure in heart, he was talking about that attitude that he had about children. Remember what he said? The children would enter the kingdom of heaven quickly because they were innocent. No, not naive, but innocent. And innocence is the key. We will never see God. We have spent our whole life being with God, one in God. As Jesus said, God lives within, but we can't see it because we are too busy intellectualizing God, theorizing God, mentally trying to formulate God in our mind. I love what traditional Western religions have done with God. They've made God some sort of being that lives above us, that we can never touch, that we can never know, that judges us, that we are to be afraid of. In fact, the person who supposedly the most religious is something called a God-fearing person. Jesus never said to fear God. His whole attitude was surrender to God. But how can you surrender to something that you're afraid of? It's ridiculous. I think there are many people out there who are watching our television program, as well as many of you who are here with us this morning, who realize that you're tired of being used in fear. Religion is a high manipulator. It manipulates people to say, to feel, and to do things out of fear, and you're tired of it. Welcome to the club. I think we want to be free. If religion was really doing its purpose, it would set us free. And that's what Jesus tried to do with this beautiful beatitude. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. We have a belief about God. I'd like to give you some insights, steps to help you develop this pure in heart attitude. To me, it's a life work. It's not something that's achieved overnight. It's not something that you do. It's something that you practice. It's something that you become. And that's why a lot of you are studying now and meditating. You don't need another book. You don't need another tape. You don't need another minister in your life. You need to keep practicing the teachings within yourself, practicing your meditation. As you practice, as you sit, as you work with some of the ideas I'd like to share with you this morning on this program, you will see the pure in heart within you. It's always been there. First of all, let's understand what Jesus meant by the pure in heart. We are not talking about emotions. A lot of people think when you say heart, immediately they think emotion. And that's not what it is. Emotion is a mental attitude. The other side of the coin of the mental side to us is the emotional side to us. No, the pure in heart is something different. That is the spiritual side. That's the side to us which is, as I call, the gateway to God, the threshold to God. It is not found through your mind. It is found through some silence. Let me give you some steps. The first thing that we must do if we are to obtain this insight, this pure in heart, is that we need to sit in quietness, in meditation. Now, we have a hard time in the Western world with meditation because we think of it in the form of drugs, which it is not, some sort of hallucinations, which it is not. Some people call it an occult practice, which it is not. Meditation is not contemplation either. It is letting go. It is letting go of the ego. It is letting go of the me that I have created in my personality. It is sitting in the stillness and in the silence and having the courage to sit in that stillness and to sit in that silence and to listen without arguing, without analyzing, without theorizing. And that takes practice. To cleanse us We must drop the idea of what is good and bad, right and wrong. Let me give you another pathway to it, another idea. We have to let go of what we know. And that's a real hard one for us, isn't it? To let go of what we know. To stop intellectualizing so much. You know what's interesting to me? It's fascinating. The people who are supposed to be in the business of helping us understand God can't. Why? They're too busy intellectualizing everything. They're too busy memorizing everything. They assume they know everything. Ask a minister, ask some of us Western ministers if we don't know everything about the Bible or about life. You know, we study a great deal about the Bible, and yet we know so little about it. We assume that we know everything. We assume that we know all about an Eastern book written 2,000 years ago. How presumptuous of us. I was reading in the newspaper the other day where they're arguing over some of the things that Jesus said, and they're voting on the things that they believe in and what he said and what he didn't say. Ridiculous. We need to drop the whole idea. Really, to be honest with you, if you took the Beatitudes and just tore them out of the Bible and threw the Bible away and just kept the Beatitudes, you'd have enough to live the rest of your life. It is enough just to practice the Beatitudes, especially this one, blessed are the pure in heart. We intellectualize too much. We think we know too much. To drop that analyzation, to drop our knowledge, to become simple again. That's why Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven would be found through children. Because they're simple. They're not cluttered with knowledge. They're not cynical. They're not trying to manipulate. So much of our time in our day is spent on trying to manipulate other people to do what we want them to do. And religion does the same thing. If you don't believe the way I tell you to, you're wrong, or you're bad, or you need saving. You don't need saving. You need to live. You need to live not in apathy and not in seriousness, but to live in the balance of joy, of love, of compassion, of understanding. To be pure in heart is to surrender to God. To surrender everything that we've accumulated on this earthly plane, our fears, our worries, our angers. To be pure in heart is not repression, it's expression. To become a free flow. Life is happening through us. It's happening right now through each and every person that sits in this auditorium, and to those of you out there, it is happening. Let it happen. To be pure in heart means that I let life flow. I don't get in the way of it. I let God love me, and I let the love flow through me. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This is your opportunity to see God. Practice the pure in heart. We'll be right back. We're going to have some question and answers and some wonderful discussion. I hope you're trying to be with us. Thank you. You sound like a jazzercise class here. We're so grateful you chose to be with us. We talked about what it meant to see God, that only the pure in heart see God, and I'm sure you have many questions on this subject. And as I've said to you every week, at the end of every discourse here at Unity of Escondido that I give on a Sunday morning, I open it up for some questions, and we're going to open it up right now. Who has the first question on this? Everybody, here we go. Yeah.
Greg, I know how we come to gain knowledge intellectually, but how do we come to know the heart in us?
Knowledge has to be dropped before we can gain the heart. You know, high IQs are wonderful in the marketplace, and they do help us out in the physical world, but they're nothing for us spiritually. In fact, they become a deficit. And if we are going to find the way of the heart, we're going to have to drop that intellectual, shouting mind of ours that is always rationalizing and theorizing things. It is amazing to me. You can look at the Bible any way you want to look at it. It just depends on how your mind wants to slant it. Have you ever witnessed maybe an accident or something? There'll be four of you standing there, and you have four different views of what happened. Not one of them's the same. Not because you didn't all see the same thing, but because of our point of view. To be pure in heart means to drop that point of view, to drop that, this is a tough one, to drop that ego. We spent our whole life building personality, didn't we? Build our whole life building this persona of ourselves. And then we built it with beliefs, we built it with religious attitudes, we built it with moral attitudes, we built it with what we thought was right and wrong, good and bad, and we go out into life and we say, here I am, and this is the persona of me. And then you come to a master like Jesus or the Buddha, and they say, you have to take that persona and throw it away and start empty. And that's why most people say, forget it. I don't want to believe that, and I don't want to see it. But that's the key. The intellect is good in the marketplace. Use it in the marketplace. Use it. 2 and 2 make 4. You should know how to use that. You're going to need it out there. But you can't use it effectively when it comes to finding God. There it becomes a deficit. It has to be dropped. It's a surrendering process. Every day a little bit more of that ego is surrendered. Every day a little bit more of that intellect spiritually is dropped, and a little more openness. I like what Jesus said. I of myself know nothing. It is the Father within me which doeth the work, and it's the key. He dropped his ego. I of myself, I, Jesus the man, know nothing. It's the key. But when you're out in the marketplace, use it. And always try to temper that persona with some intuition. It'll lead you a lot further. We got a lot of questions on the pure in heart, I can see. Oh, my dear Violet.
Oh, I have a bum leg.
Get it well.
But surely it will be. Where is the balance between taking this all too seriously and apathy?
Ah, there are 2 things that hurt us. What an excellent question she wrote out for herself. That's excellent. Where is it that we become too serious and where we become apathetic? Can we talk? Just us, and we'll pretend like the viewing audience isn't there. I think ministers take themselves far too seriously. And that's what they use to manipulate people. We forget to have a sense of humor about ourselves. We are a laughable group, and we should enjoy that. We get too serious about ourselves when everything is glum and everything is so serious that we can't take a lighthearted look at life. If everything were that serious, I don't think God would have made the armadillo. It's got to be the most ridiculous looking animal I ever saw, right? And to me, you have to have a sense of humor to create that, all right? I think we need to keep our sense of humor and apathy. She speaks of apathy. Very good. If you've been serious all your life, you're going to become apathetic. If everything has been heavy, if everything has been difficult, apathy will enter in. Apathy is where we give up. We give up on ourselves. And I think a lot of people feel apathy because they've tried everything and nothing's changed. We look at ourselves and we see all the mistakes that we've made, and maybe we look at our personalities and we see all the things that we've done, and we say, gee whiz, in light of everything that I could have been, in light of everything that was possible, I didn't do enough with my life. And then that apathy comes in because we don't have a sense of humor. There's nothing left to do in our life right now but to laugh and to enjoy it. Yes, you've made a lot of mistakes. So have I. Drop the mistakes. Take a lighthearted approach. Work on being lighthearted. It'll take you a lot further than the apathy or the seriousness that we seem to have. There are times to be very serious, but never harsh. Always temper your seriousness with a light heart. And if you feel apathy coming in, only you can do something about that. I think the greatest thing that I struggle with as a minister with my students is their apathy about themselves. They've given up years ago on themselves. They just don't believe that anything can come out of them that's better than what is coming out now. And that's something only you can deal with. I can't make you enthusiastic about your life. Don't look to me to do it. It's not my job. That's your job, Mom. Okay, another question? Gwendolyn.
Yeah. What do you mean when you say that meditation is a practice of dropping the ego?
Prayer we have used in this country to beg, to bring something into existence. Prayer is useless. There's no need for it, the way we think about it in Western terms. In Western terms, we think of prayer as saying, God, I want this, and God, I want that. We look up as though God were above us. Meditation, rather, is an inward journey. And it is an inward journey where in ourselves we find a sense of serenity and peace. It is there that we can drop the ego, the I. When I am praying, I'm usually praying, if I'm doing it in a Western way, for something for my ego to be magnified. God, give me a healing. God, give me money. God, give me, it's always something I want, whereas in meditation, it's more of a surrender. True prayer is not lip service. True prayer is a surrender also. True prayer is letting God give to us. That's what it's all about. Meditation is letting go of that ego. Let me explain to you this way, and I will try to give this to you in the simplest terms I can. When we are meditating, we are seeking to forget ourselves, the personality, and remember ourselves as a spiritual being. It's a time of remembering. It's not a time of affirming. If you use affirmation in your prayers or in your meditation, you're only doing mind manipulation. It's only when we're still and silent that we hear down here that still small voice. And we begin to see that the person that I have created as Gregory Penn is not the real me. There is another me. And in truth, we might call it the Christ. We might call it Christos. We might call it our true nature. We might call it true freedom. We might call it Buddha. Whatever you want to call it what you want. But it is the perfect side of you. And only through meditation do we have that time of dropping. We have time for another question before we leap into another edition. Judy.
If we read and study the teachings of a lot of different teachers and masters and go to classes, can it help us on the spiritual path?
No, yes, sometimes. You know, you can study with a master and get nothing out of it. You can study with a teacher and get nothing out of it. You can read a book and it just depends on your frame of mind. Where are you? What do you need? No one taught Buddha. No one taught Jesus. It was a self-realization that they came to. Yogananda the same way. He finally found a master, but he'd already found so much within himself. Teachers such as myself and ministers and books and tapes, they're there to help. They're definitely there as an aid, and I honestly feel they're there as a sincere aid, but all we can do so little. All we can do is kind of bring you to the threshold of yourself, and then you have to take yourself in. No one can do it for you. I'd like to be able to do it for you, but I can't. And I don't make unrealistic expectations for that. Judy, it depends on your attitude. What are you looking for? If you're looking for someone else to do it for you, you'll be what I call a spiritual junkie. You go from person to person to person. And I know everybody, people going to churches, I'm looking for a church that believes as I do. Big deal. What you need to do is find a place that doesn't believe like you do and be challenged. And be challenged. I want to thank you for your sincere questions. And I hope we answered some of your questions out there in TV land. I want to thank you. God bless. Thank you.